guys, welcome to my channel. We are about 2 weeks out from Halloween now, and I wanted to share a video of my favorite book and movie recommendations that have a really shocking twist at the end. I'm just jumping in here after the fact to say that I decided to split this video into 2 separate videos because it was getting a little long. So this video will be my top 10 book recommendations with a big plot twist. Part 2 will come out on Sunday and it'll be my top 10 movie recommendations with big plot twists. So despite what I'm about to say in a minute. So I'm going to be talking about my top 10 books and then my top 10 movies, and hopefully it'll give you some ideas of some to check out. I'm going to be talking about some popular ones and some like lesser known, underrated, in my opinion, books and movies. And I also want to say I am not really into like extreme gore or horror or anything like that. So this is maybe a list for the people among us like me who are not huge fans of being terrified, but we like to be just like a little bit creeped out. So that's where I am on that spectrum. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. Okay, so jumping right in, I'm going to start with my top 10 books that I think have the most shocking plot twists, and I'm starting with number 10 and moving on to number 1. Oh, by the way, I'm not planning on sharing any spoilers during this video, so don't worry if you're worried about that. The only minor spoiler is that there is a twist in all of these, so if you don't even want to know that much, then this isn't the video for you, but hopefully that's not too much of a spoiler for you. So number 10 on my list is Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. And this is a book I read a couple of years ago, and it got me out of this really big reading slump. And I remember I just devoured it in a couple of days, and I just wanted to read more and more thrillers after that. So it's a good book to get you out of a reading slump. And I will say the end is not, this is why it's number 10. It's not like a huge twist, but I guess it was just really action-packed and really surprising what happened at the end. So it's this book about this couple that get married. It's a domestic thriller, and then you find out that their relationship once they're married isn't quite what it seemed before they got married. And it's really dark. I don't really want to give away too much because I don't want to give any spoilers, but it is very dark. It's intense. I could not put it down. And you might want to look into like trigger warnings before you read it. But it was a really action-packed one that I couldn't put down. And the ending was just so tense. Like, I don't think I was breathing. I was like holding my breath, just like reading it as fast as I could because I could not wait to find out how it ended. So that is a great one to read. My number 9 book in my list is A Flicker in the Dark by Stacy Willingham. So this book is about this woman who, when she was younger, these girls all disappeared one summer, and her father ends up confessing to the murders of all of these girls. And he goes to prison for life, but then 20 years later, the situation kind of starts happening again. These girls are disappearing, and it's very similar to what happened 20 years ago, but her father is in prison. So it's kind of like, what is going on here? And it's a really suspenseful one. I couldn't put this one down. I will say I did predict the ending, but I think it still is a pretty good twist. So I highly recommend that one as well. My number 7 pick is The It Girl by Ruth Ware. I talked about this book already in my fall book recommendations video, so I will briefly touch on it here, but it is this book about these people who are attending, I believe is it Cambridge? Let me double check that. No, it's not Cambridge, it's Oxford University. The details are a little fuzzy. I read so many thrillers, I kind of get them mixed up and forget them quickly. But so it's about this group of friends who are attending Oxford University. It's got those great dark academia vibes. I love the setting. It's a little bit of a slower book. I feel like a lot of Ruth Ware's kind of are, but it's about this group of friends, and one of them is murdered. And throughout the book, there's two different timelines. There's back when they were in college and then the present day. And you're just kind of trying to figure out what really happened. Somebody was convicted for the murder, but it's like you're kind of trying to figure out, was he actually guilty or was he wrongly convicted? So that's a great one too. It's not too scary, but it's definitely very suspenseful. Number 7 on the list is Local Woman Missing by Mary Kubica. I've read a couple of Mary Kubica's books and I really have liked all that I've read so far. I have a lot on hold from the library too that I hope to read soon. But they're really kind of twisty and the ending is always pretty unpredictable. So this one is about this woman and her daughter who go missing, and then years later the daughter ends up returning, and they think they've finally solved the case and everything. But as time goes on, and you think you've figured everything out, it turns out that might not be the case at all. And I love books like that where you feel like you've got some resolution and then you find out, oh, there's another detail that completely changes everything. So this is a great book. It was a quick read and really good to read during the spooky Halloween season, but not too scary again. Another author that's pretty much a must read every time she comes out with a new book, and I've never read a book of hers that I didn't love, is Alice Feeney. So the next book is by her and it's His and Hers. So this book is about a murder that happens in this town, and a reporter is called to report on the case. And it turns out that this reporter, who is the main character, grew up in the town and is connected to a bunch of people involved in the case and everything. Her ex-husband is the detective who later turns into a suspect for the murder. So it's just this big twisty story. And at the end, when you find out what really happens, like that one I did not see coming. I did not predict this one. I was almost like, this is like a little bit too far, but no, I really liked it. It was really good. It was really unexpected. And number 5 is another Alice Feeney book, and it is Rock, Paper, Scissors. I always talk about how the setting of a book or a movie can be like half of what makes it so amazing. And in this case, I think that is true. So it's about this husband and wife, and they're going to this really remote cabin, and it's snowy. I believe they won it like in a sweepstakes. Again, it's been a while since I've read it. I'm a little fuzzy on all the little details, but they're very secluded from like everybody else in the outside world, and they get to this actually it's an old church, so it's not a cabin, it's an old church, and they get there and it's all just a little weird and creepy. And I remember just like reading those scenes when they first arrive at the church and just feeling like that unsettled feeling, which is what I like. I don't want to be terrified, like I said, but like a little bit unsettled is just fun, especially this time of year. Anyway, they're kind of going on this like weekend trip to this secluded place to sort of try to fix their marriage. They're having marriage problems. To add to everything, the husband has face blindness, which means he doesn't like recognize anyone's face. It doesn't matter how many times he's seen them, he doesn't recognize them. And I thought that added kind of a cool element. But anyway, things keep continuing to get darker and darker throughout this weekend. So you'll have to read it to find out what happens. But it's one of those ones where you get to a certain part and you're like, oh my gosh, everything I thought I read so far is now like totally different because of this twist. So those are my favorite types of books and movies. And I, of course, need to have a couple of books by my favorite author, Riley Sager, on this list. Number 4 is Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. I talked about this one as well in my fall recommendations video, so I'll just quickly talk about it. But it's another one with a great atmosphere, great setting. It's about this young woman who she's low on cash, and she sees this ad for being like an apartment sitter at this huge fancy apartment in Manhattan called, I think it's the Bartholomew, and it's for this insane amount of money. And it's this beautiful, beautiful apartment with this beautiful view of the city. And she's like, of course I want to do this. But then it's kind of like, is there a catch? Like, why are you offering so much money? And as the story goes on, you figure out like, maybe there was a reason that seemed too good to be true. And I won't go into any more details than that, but there's a point in the end where you're like, okay, I got this figured out. I know what's going on. And then you continue reading and it's like, oh my gosh, that's not even anything close to what I was thinking. Or if you did predict it, then you're pretty smart, because there's no way I think I could have actually predicted the ending. So really enjoyed reading that one. Highly recommend it. Number 3 on this list is Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. Gone Girl is another one by her that is like really good and has a great twist, but I honestly was probably even more surprised by this ending. This is probably also the darkest book on this list. There was just a detail at the end, and if you've read it, you probably know what I'm thinking about. Like the moment you kind of find out about what was really going on the whole time, that was just, it was like disturbing. Like I was thinking about it afterwards and it like bothered me. So if you don't like books like that, this one might not be for you, but I think it was worth it to read for the twist ending. So this one, now that I'm thinking about it, it's very similar to His and Hers. It's about this woman. She has this dark past and she's really struggling with some things, and she's a reporter and she gets called back to her hometown to cover this one young girl's disappearance and the other's murder, unsolved murder. So she goes home. She doesn't have the greatest relationship with her family. They live in this old Victorian house. I think it was a mansion house, I'm not sure, but it was just like a little bit creepy. And she has to kind of try to figure out what's really going on while also kind of facing her past. And it's dark. It felt dark and heavy the whole time reading it. But when you find out at the end, like what was really happening, who was really behind everything, I was shocked. Like this one, that's why it's number 3. I did not see it coming. I was completely shocked. It was one of those ones that I was just like, I couldn't stop replaying over in my mind afterwards. I couldn't stop thinking about it. So to me, that is a good thriller and it's a good twist ending. So number 2 on my list is another Riley Sager book. It is The Last Time I Lied. And it's another one with a great setting. It actually takes place at a summer camp. So although it would be fun to read now, like around Halloween time, it's also a good one to read during the summer. But it's about this woman, again, who has to face her past. I feel like that's a big theme in a lot of these thrillers. But she went to summer camp one year at this camp, and her 3 cabin mates, they left in the middle of the night one night and they never returned. They disappeared and no one ever really knows what happened to them. And years later, when she's an adult, she's an artist, she's asked to come back to the camp as an art counselor. And she thinks, well, maybe this will bring closure. Maybe this will be good for me. But when she gets there, everything just gets kind of creepy. And you're wondering, like, is it something supernatural? Is it haunted? And those are the vibes that you get. And it's creepy. And then while she's there as a counselor, 3 other girls go missing. So she has to try to figure everything out. And there's elements of like nature in it too, where she has to deal with all of that being at the summer camp. And at the end, you think it's all over, and there's a couple of good twists at the end, and you think it's all wrapped up, it's all figured out, and then like on the last page or 2, I feel like it's one of the very last pages, you find out one other piece of information that I was just like, oh my gosh, mind blown. I loved this book so much. This is my favorite Riley Sager book. I feel like it's not often one that people say is their favorite, but this is my absolute favorite book by my favorite author. Oh, I saw movement out my window and it was my cat. It scared me. Maybe I need to stop talking about these creepy books. It's like a rainy, gloomy day outside too. But anyway, now that I've had a slight heart attack, lost track of what I was saying. But yeah, that book is just a fun ride from beginning to end. I could not put it down. And the number 1 book that I think has the most shocking twist is Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough. And I'm not going to say that I think this is the best book ever written. It wasn't necessarily as fun to read as like The Last Time I Lied or some of those Alice Feeney books, but the ending shocked me more than I think any other ending has in a book that I've ever read. So it's about this woman who is working for a therapist, I believe. She's like the administrative assistant to him, and anyway, one thing leads to another, and they end up having an affair because he's married. And then she ends up accidentally running into his wife and ends up becoming like best friends with her. So it's this weird situation. Nobody really knows about, you know, the different relationships that are going on. And I will say this one does involve like some lucid dreaming, and that freaked me out a little bit. I don't like thinking about that, but it wasn't too disturbing in this movie or anything. But yeah, if you don't like that, then this isn't the book for you. So anyway, as she is kind of in a relationship with the husband and a friendship relationship with the wife, things just start seeming weird and wrong, and she's kind of like twisted in this whole dynamic with both of them, and she can't seem to get out of it, and just kind of finding out like something is really weird about their marriage. And as the book goes on and the ending happens, it's just like, if you predict this ending, I would be completely shocked. Like, it is insane. It's really out there, but I enjoyed reading it just for the like wow factor of that shocking twist at the end. So that is my number one twist ending for a book, but I would recommend any of these books on this list. I hope that I mentioned some that you haven't tried yet and gave you some ideas of something to check out. And if you do, I hope you enjoy them. So those are all of my recommendations for today. It actually got so long, I think I'm gonna split it into 2 separate videos. We're gonna do the top 10 books and then a separate video with the top 10 movies, which wasn't my original plan, but it ended up being really long. I hope you heard some good recommendations in this video, and I hope you try some of them if you haven't before, and that you just really enjoy the next few weeks of this spooky Halloween season. Thank you guys so much for watching.